What's up, everyone on YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of The Real Hero Show. Nick here with you. And if you couldn't tell in this video, I'm going to be discussing Narcos Mexico Season 3 and why Season 4 was canceled and what that means for the Narcos series or the drug cartels on Netflix. So if you're new here, you like the content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Help us reach our goal upwards on to 1,000. We're nearing 600, so I really appreciate, we really appreciate everyone's support and just chiming in on comments and things that we tend to review here in the channel. So I'm not going to keep you waiting. If you haven't seen any of the Narcos seasons, I highly suggest you go watch them. I think they're very good, very entertaining. And a lot of good stuff all around. If you have been watching up through Narcos, or the original series with Pablo Escobar, and onto the Narcos Mexico spin-offs, then let's get started. There will be spoilers. If you haven't watched any of it and you just want to see what I have to say, by all means, let's get this party started. So I really enjoyed all of the Narcos seasons. I fell for it back when the first season came out with Pablo Escobar, because obviously he was a big name, and being a fan of the Entourage series on HBO years ago, and in season 3 of that, when Vinny Chase wants to do the side project, or rather like his project of Medellin, playing and portraying Pablo Escobar, and obviously that was not good in the show, movie wise. Obviously the show here on Narcos on Netflix was a lot better, and of course you kind of know how it's going to turn out because of it's drawing from real life experiences, real life stories, and obviously just like in the original Narcos series, the one with Mexico, there are other things that are dramatized, made up, and are fictionary. But I think one of the cool things that this show has done is draw from the history, draw from the facts of what really went down with all the drug cartels. And I really think it's really it's cool and fascinating when they actually add in the history of things. Because there's a lot that I didn't know, and I'm sure the same goes for other people. And either you do your own research online to find out what really went down with a lot from Colombia and the cartels in Mexico, and just the cultures, or maybe they'll say some things that are true in the show, and then kind of maybe see if they're right, or again, if you know by experience, then you know by experience. But I want to talk about this article just for a little bit here, and as I go through this, I want to talk about what my thoughts were on season 3. So it dropped on November 5th. I binged it this past weekend, and we and the show had some other things to watch and to record and put out. But I'm recording this at 1 a.m. on Wednesday night, and which will be released today. So doing this for the people. And I think one of the cool things that Carlo Bernard, says here is I saw this season as an origin story of the modern world that we live in. For me, it felt like bringing the show up to the spot where we now recognize, for the better or for worse, made sense as a place to stop it. The show has been able to lift the curtains and show you how this thing began, how it evolved. And it definitely did evolve, especially just in the Mexico series here. It evolved from over 3 seasons. And I think from the first Narcos show to this one, it evolved again. Goes on to continue to say, not to say that other stories wouldn't be compelling going forward, but to me, stopping at the moment where we had delivered the world what we now live in today made sense. Thematically and narratively, we definitely don't want to repeat ourselves ever. And I think that's important. I think that's what tells a good story. It's to be original. And, I think it's a mistake that shows tend to make is they go on and make, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seasons sometimes, and things just get drawn out. There's a lot of shows that have done that. The Walking Dead comes to mind. And again, I think depending on what the content is, you could potentially go that route and make it make it worth our while as viewers, a show like Breaking Bad, which is arguably one of the best shows ever made, stopped at 5 seasons. And again, because you could probably continue to tell stories about the drug cartels. Again, just like Bernard says, it made sense to stop, and I agree. There's something else at the bottom of this article that I already read that we'll get to momentarily that is kind of cool because it does until the future of what they have up their sleeve. So, of course, we see when it started, when it spanned, when the original 3 seasons began, and instead of a 4th, they went to a new series, which was really cool because of the way it was sort of tied into things. We know that it covers things that were set in the 80s and 90s. And again, I think one of the big draws to this show and this series in particular was the DE agent Kiki Camarena, who was played by Michael Pena, which big Michael Pena fan because of his movies and shows he's been in, and of course Diego Luna, who's been in a number of things. So you've got 2 really big known actors in this show. And again, I think Scoot McNairy, who I think he did a great job. And I know he was also in another show that someone on the channel commented on one of our videos recently and said that I haven't watched the show. I think Corey has, but it's with the show called Halt and Catch Fire. I might go back and watch it at some point, but he was, of course, the main role in that show, and I think he was great in Narcos here, and I think he also really helped lead the performance, especially in the 3rd season. But of course, we know by the end of season 2, spoiler alert, but Michael Pena's character is dead. And Diego Luna's character is in jail. So we've lost 2 big names, which brings me to another point of why I think this show is well done, why I think the show has a lot to offer, and that's the acting. The amount of characters that are in this show, especially over the 3 seasons, they've done such a great job. I think all the drug lords that step up in the place of Felix. You got some, guest appearances like Don Neto, who was in jail after season 1. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken, might have been season 2, but he's in jail in season 3. And so again, we get to see a lot, and I think some of the characters had really interesting, places and things to play. Like even in the main story with Pablo Escobar, from Colombia, we see like the Cali cartel, right? Like Chapo is in this, quite a few times. Of course, we all know how that ends from the main Narcos series, but he's talking with Amato here. Lord of the Skies, right? Who he was awesome. I really liked his story, and it's kind of crazy because he's based off a real character, and when they do these cuts as to like what Chapo is another example in the show about when he gets caught and everything, and it's just crazy when they do these when they actually include live footage. I think it's well done. They do it in such a great job. And it's almost seamless, right? And I think that's one of the great things about this show is being able to differentiate between what's real and what's not. And I think they do a good job between sort of, and maybe a good job of mixing their, blurring the lines so you can kind of get a sense of, well, we know what's fiction and not real, but we also know that parts of this parts of this stuff, is very real. So it's going to continue here. There aren't any plans, honestly. This is sort of the end of the ride, for now at least. There's nothing in the works, but unfortunately the drug trade isn't going anywhere, so obviously the possibility of other iterations exists. For now, though, this is it. We kind of felt like we're telling a cohesive story, so it felt like a nice place to wrap her up with Season 3 in Mexico. So this is the part here which is very interesting, where it gets down to. Meanwhile, the Narcos team, including Bernard and executive producer Eric Newman, have another project to work on. A 6-episode limited series about Colombian drug queen Griselda Blanco, starring Modern Family's Sofia Vergara. Vergara has been developing the project for 8 years with producer Luis. I'm going to botch this last name, but Balaguer. Griselda Blanco was a larger-than-life character who is ruthless but ingenious tactics allowed her to rule a billion-dollar empire years after many of the most notorious male kingpins we know so much about. She was known as the Black Widow and cocaine grandmother. Was a powerful cocaine trafficker in the 1980s. Yet, despite her associations with the Medellin cartel, she was not a character in the original series original series Narcos. So that's actually pretty interesting. So they left a big character out, true to life, but they're saving her. So I think that's actually really cool. She's been played before by Catherine Zeta-Jones, and Jennifer Lopez was a biopic called The Godmother. So one of the cool things, I guess, is that we can expect this to appear filming in 2022, so next year. So my guess is we might see this limited miniseries in 2023. That would be my guesstimation. So another 2 years from where we are now, but maybe a year and a half from this point in late 2021. So I think it's actually really cool that they're continuing on. They're allowing us to continue on with the he says right here, the drug trade isn't going where the possibility of other iterations exist. So I think in some cases, getting our taste of this sort of show will live on. I want to talk about some of the other characters in this season. Walt being a main character, and some of the things he had to deal with, where he's undercover, he's doing the job of the DEA, he's sitting on some AA meetings, but it's all part of the job to kind of set some people up and to get what he needs to get, to go where he needs to go. And in doing that, he also hurt some people, like Alex, the younger brother, to Alfredo. And you kind of knew he was going to die at some point, it's like, man, if he would have stayed in that hotel or motel room, he would have lived. And, it's like the possibility of him getting immunity might not have ever happened, but at the same time, maybe his sentence wouldn't have been that bad, and he wouldn't have been hanged on a bridge, an overpass. At least he still would have been alive. So, and again, if you're familiar with the show, you know that there's going to be a lot of deaths, a lot of killing, a lot of, some somewhat brutal murders, and some things that are hard to swallow. A lot of people get killed in this, and just for no reason whatsoever sometimes, and it's just, it's crazy. So I know you kind of had to be able to stomach this sort of thing as well. And another character that I really liked in this season was Victor, the cop, and you kind of see that he's trying just to get by, and you hear with I think it was Isabella, the journalist, which when journalism was true to journalism, right? She is narrating sometimes because where in the past Walt used to narrate, and now she is doing the narration while also being a part of, having a character in the show. And even at one point she meets with Walt, and I kind of thought it was a little, not funny, but just interesting how two people who have narrated the series have now met face to face and to talk about the stories as to what's been going on here. And I think from what she was able to portray as a character and the journalism aspect, and just to hear about how, I think the number was about 40 journalists were killed in that time frame by just trying to cover the news. But it's exposure to the crime lords and the drug lords, and that's heat that they don't want. And we see that the main guy who's running Lavaz, Ramon, sorry, it was Alejandro. He gets it's not Isabella, it's Andrea. My mistake. There's a lot of people in this show, right? But yeah, Alejandro was the gentleman who was the founder of Lavaz, and he gets killed, which was sad to see. And of course, we hear from the narration of Andrea where this stuff has been happening, and when the story of Victor, right, where he is doing something that he shouldn't be doing, obviously, where he's him and a couple other cops, or dirty cops, but as Andrea says, the cops in Mexico, at that time they weren't making a lot of money, so they had to do other things, and we see them doing other things and doing other gigs that weren't in the best interest, but it was money, and you need money to pay the bills, right? And they lose a guy on the job when they rob and kill a couple other guys. But Walt even figures out, because they're on the other side of the border in the United States, he knows it's Victor, and he even pays Victor a visit just to try and find some inside information on some of the other cartel families, and but Victor's on a different path. And I think of all the characters in this season in particular, his kind of, I want to say he was almost like the anti-hero in this, but he was probably one of the few people in the show that were involved in shady business. He was the one who was really trying to make a difference. He loved his wife. He tried to have a family, couldn't make that happen. And he ended up, meeting a neighbor. I can't think of her name and right off the top of my head, but she has a little girl, and she goes missing. And I think she was about to turn 15. But she's working at an auto parts factory with a lot of other girls have worked, and a lot of other girls have been going missing and showing up dead. And of course, the Victor's neighbor, she's concerned, asked Victor to do a job and look for her. And over the course of the season, you're kind of wondering when she's going to show up dead. And of course, he goes to visit the morgue and has to see other dead bodies, and has a photo, and he keeps matching. It's not her. It's not her. It's not her. Until the time when it is her. And you can see, and I think this is sort of where the good acting from Victor's character comes into play here, and he just does just a great job, I think, by portraying this this guy that he wanted a son or a daughter, never had kids, but this is just eating up. And I don't think you need to have kids to realize this is such a tragedy, because as Andrea states, as she's narrating, this was happening a lot. Yeah, this was actually a true thing. These are real factual information about how girls and women were getting killed and going missing, and still are to this day. And that's heart-wrenching. It's super depressing and sad to hear. And it's just one of the things, again, that this show makes you sort of realize that, the state of things in certain places. And again, it's super rough to understand that. And in the show, of course, giving that bad news, the emotion that was portrayed by Victor's neighbor, And I think for the sake of what he continues to do because of that is to find the killer, right? He wants to find who's responsible for killing all these girls. And he finds this guy, and you kind of know, and you think that he's done it, right? He's like the vigilante that is able to put an end to all this. He finds the guy who was caught in the act, right? He had that Cadillac, and he got the girl inside, and then he shoots him. The girl runs out of the car, off, and you kind of think, like, bravo, Victor. It's all done. He doesn't have to keep going out at night anymore. He can kind of do his regular job and extra job, and we find out that more girls have gone missing. And he's like, "Are you sure? Wait, it can't be." And you kind of see that look on his face, like, "But I just took care of that." And he realizes that the job isn't done yet. And of course, at the last episode, he and his partner are kind of driving off to this location. I'm like, I don't want the feel of this. I don't want the looks of this, right? I got a bad feeling. And he, gets out and he's like, "Yeah, it's just on that door." And his partner's behind him. And of course, he's got a gun. And I mean, look, like, I get it. This is the end of the show, end of the series. But man, it's like, there's already been enough bloodshed. Like, did you have to kill him? Like, just allow Victor, and I don't know why he didn't decide to say, like, if he's gonna, he says, if you're gonna end it, just end it. But I feel like if that's the case, like, look, before you're gonna do it, let me tell you what I was doing. Because I feel like potentially that could have maybe spared his life, or go back to whoever he was working for and be like, this is the truth. At least would have spared him some time, even if he were to end up dead, by saying, "Hey, well, this is a part of our business. You got to deal with it." And at that point, he could have been like, "Look, I'm not going to say anything, but I don't want any part of this." And again, they might not trust him. They may not. But again, I think it's one of those things where it could have been inevitable. And again, that's just part of the writers and the showrunners to sort of tell that story. But I really like this character because he kind of, he started to come around in full circle to an extent, and he bit the dust. I'd say, even for the sake of Lord of the Skies here, Mr. Amato, who, he wanted to get out. He wanted to go to Chile, and with his new bae that he found from Cuba, and he couldn't even do that. So, and I thought that was crazy too. I didn't know that's how it went down, how he tried to have a face change. I kind of suspected that's what he was doing in the hospital, but his heart gave out. Man, I mean, that's crazy. There's some crazy stories in real life that the show has told, especially with the general. I mean, the people that were corrupted in that government, which of course it's not any surprise about corrupt governments, but just to sort of see a little bit more and the truth that's just out on the internet that we can do our own research on. But enough of me rambling on about stuff. Again, I really enjoyed all 3 seasons. I enjoyed this as much as the first Narcos, maybe a little bit more because of who was involved. I think cinematography-wise, they had some beautiful shots in this show and in this season. A lot with Amato would be talking on the phone, and just the landscape in the background, like just beautiful shots. And of course, action was violent and believable and well done. I think the themes were great. The culture was great, minus all the murders and stuff like that. But just to see more of it, and it ends with Walt still doing the job. It looks like he's in a cozier or rather colder environment. He's cozy with a jacket on. So did he make it to Chicago? Maybe. That's my guess, is that he did. And of course, he's doing the same thing about being undercover and talking to the DEA about, hey, target's making a call in the back, and it ends. And so I'm kind of bummed we won't see anywhere more of Walt or anyone else. But again, we're getting a spinoff from the Colombian drug queen, so that'll be cool to see in probably 2023. Maybe we'll provide some update next year when we find out more about the show and when it gets wrapped up. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think that the season 3 was great? The way they ended it, do you think it was good? Do you think it was bad? What would you guys give this season and show overall? If my ratings mean anything, as much as anyone else's out there, out of 10, of course, as we do things here on the show, I'm going to say this season is probably like a solid, maybe like an 8.5, somewhere within that range. I think for the entire series overall is a solid 8.5, especially when, in the first 2 seasons when we had, Diego Luna and Michael Pena in it. I think, again, they did a great job including them in the beginning to sort of pick up the pace about where it was going. And I'm kind of bummed that it's over. But you can always go back and watch it, right? So leave your comments in the comment section below. I'm trying to find more people that have actually watched all of it. I know some people haven't gotten a chance to start it yet, but maybe by this point you have. Thanks for watching this long a mix between a rant, a review with the article here, and an overview of this season and series. So again, give us a like, subscribe. It's free to help support us so we can do more content like this. And until next time, I will see you guys on the next series of Narcos, maybe with this limited series. But we got a lot of other things coming with some movies that are also on Netflix. Got a new show on Apple TV to cover with some ongoing shows as well. So until then, cheers.